Hello guys, it's Robbie here and welcome in this new recap where I'm going to break down today's entry opportunity on EU mainly. So I will focus on EU, but I also make some thoughts about GU. So yeah, here we are on EU. What happened in EU? Well, on the 4-hour time frame, uh, this is the last candle. It has been made by CPI, so we do not have to care about it. But before London session, price technically made a new breakout structure here to the upside after the swing breakout structure. And after the swing breakout structure, price made a small pullback, but without any valuable demand mitigation, price has made a new breakout structure to the upside, which had a little bit less volume, but there was still a breakout structure. So technically we had this valuable for demand that has caused the swing breakout structure. Also, there was a breakout structure. We could mark this candle out that has caused the breakout structure here, but I was focusing on 15-minute zones at this region. So yeah, let's take a look on the 15-minute time frame. What happened on the 15-minute time frame before the session? There was the 4-hour breakout structure to the upside. That has happened right here. And after this 4-hour breakout structure, price built up liquidity here for the last recent 15-minute demand. This 15-minute demand caused the 4-hour breakout structure directly. And it has printed really nice volume candle. So this volume candle has started from this zone. This zone caused the volume candle, had liquidity above it. And I was expecting a confirmation entry on this zone or on the lower one, because the lower one has flipped the valuable supply area previously. So there was a weak supply that has caused the 15-minute change of character yesterday London session. So there was a 15-minute change of character. This character changing supply area has been flipped by this demand, and everything below this demand was liquidity that has been built up for the lower 15-minute demand area that has caused the break of the previous 15-minute supply. So technically, my plan for the session was wait for longs mainly on the last recent demand area. So I was waiting for a confirmation entry on the last recent demand that has caused the swing breakout structure on the 15-minute time frame. Or if this demand right here couldn't print a confirmation entry, then I would wait for a confirmation entry on the lower demand that has flipped this supply previously. However, if this zone wouldn't be able to hold the price, and if it gets flipped, then I would take shorts down to this 15-minute demand area, and I would target this liquidity pool just below the next recent 15-minute demand area. So yeah, these were my plans for this session. And actually session started here. This is the first candle of the session, and we can take a look on the 1-minute time frame. Yeah, let's take a look on the 1-minute time frame. But to be honest, this whole session was a liquidity build up for the CPI news that has been released 35 minutes ago. So what happened after session opened? Well, technically session opened right here with this candle. This is the first candle of the session. Price has made a new change of character to the upside, because there was the last recent breakout structure. This was the last recent supply and high point that has caused the breakout structure here. And after the small percent mitigation, it wasn't a 50% mitigation, as you can see here, the 50% line. Price has made change of character to the upside on the 1-minute time frame after it has swept insane amount of liquidity into this 15-minute demand area. So the change of character happened, but I was waiting for liquidity creation for this entry PY right here that has caused the change of character, because Euro USD tends to mitigate 50%. So Euro USD likes to mitigate deeper regions of higher time frame zones, and that was the reason why I was waiting for combined liquidation. In this case, liquidity for the entry PY. So if there would be liquidity for this entry PY, I would enter on this zone. However, there wasn't liquidity, so it means it was a no-go zone for me, because there wasn't 50% mitigation on EU. After that, technically price just built up liquidity for a possible deeper mitigation. So everything that you can see here, so technically for 2 hours straight, price was ranging and building up and built up liquidity for future movements. The downside has been built up for a deeper mitigation on the 15-minute demand area, and the upside liquidity has been built up for future long movements. So technically this whole upside was liquidity, but to be honest, this whole liquidity pool right here on the upside has been built up for the CPI news that has been released 36 minutes ago. So yeah, what happened after this range, after the liquidity creation on the downside? Well, this liquidity has been swept into the 50% of the 15-minute demand area that has caused the swing breakout structure on the 15-minute time frame. And after that, there was a small hesitation inside of the zone, but after that, price made really nice volume candles and the change of character happened. I marked the change of character right here because technically the sweep happened from this high point. Technically there was a breakout structure too, and there was a swing breakout structure to the downside on the 1 minute time frame, and this breakout structure happened from this high point. This is the last recent supply area that has made a new low point on the 1 minute time frame. There wasn't any breakout structure, so this was our high point that had to be broken in order to have change of character. It has been broken, as you can see. There was a weak break, but after the weak break, price has made a body break too, but a weak break would be enough in this case because 1 minute on the 1 minute time frame for change of characters, weak break is enough. And after that, after the change of character, I marked out the zone right here because this was the only inefficient area that has printed really nice volume candle. And after that, price has built up combined liquidation for the zone. And after the combined liquidation, I had 10 criteria for this zone. Actually, yeah, I had 10 criteria for this zone, but before the combined liquidation right here, I have already placed my order on this entry PY somewhere around here with 2 pip stop loss because the zone was a small one. So 2 pips is safely covered the whole zone, and I would target the top of the liquidity. So the last recent high on the 15-minute time frame, this high would be my final target for 8.7 risk reward ratio. But let's count the criteria first, because as I said, I had 10 criteria with combined liquidation, and before the combined liquidation, I had 9, which is perfectly enough for me in order to set a limit order. So higher time frame zone mitigation happened. Price mitigated a 15-minute demand that has caused a swing breakout structure. Perfect. There was liquidity to take for the higher time frame zone. Here was the liquidity on the 1 minute time frame. Before that, price has already swapped really nice amount of liquidity from this region, and price also swapped liquidity from this region. So insane amount of liquidity has been swapped into the higher time frame zone. There is inefficiency for the entry PY. This is a really nice volume candle that has been printed right here, and there is the inefficient gap. Really nice inefficiency was there, and we are clearly in a pro trend. So for a bullish 15-minute bullish, price has just mitigated the last recent 15-minute demand area and confirmed it after the 50% mitigation on the 1 minute time frame. So this is a literally perfect pro trend pro order flow entry opportunity. We had all the 4 base criteria. I had all the 4 base criteria that I need. So I started to count the variable ones. There was change of character right here. Price has made change of character, broke above the last recent high point. I did count the V-shaped recovery. Also, if you take a look on the 5-minute time frame, it was a literally perfect V-shaped recovery. You can see the perfect V-shaped reaction right here. All right, V-shaped recovery happened. V-shaped reaction happened. We had insane amount of liquidity target on the upside. Technically, the whole movement was liquidity, and we had 50% mitigation. Price has made 50% mitigation after the sweep of the liquidity. Perfect. Technically, price was coming from an opposite sided zone right here. There was a 5-minute and even a 3-minute zone. But I was focused on the 5-minute time frame more. So there was a 5-minute supply zone mitigation that has caused the sweep of this liquidity, but there was a body break below this low point. So technically price was coming from an opposite sided zone. However, the only purpose of this supply zone was to sweep this liquidity into a deeper region of the 15-minute demand, and after the 1-minute confirmations, we could safely look for longs. But there was technically we had corrective pullbacks from pro movements, so the bullish movements were stronger than the bearish ones. If we take a look at the previous price actions, then we can see that the bullish movements were clearly stronger than the bearish ones. So we had corrective pullbacks, strong pro movements. So that was our 9th criteria. That was my 9th criteria. And yeah, the only missing one was the not coming from opposite side zone, because technically price was coming. And with 9 criteria, I have already placed my order on this zone right here. But after the liquidity creation, I had the 10th criteria in this case. So I had the 9/10 criteria for this entry opportunity. So for 45 minutes, I have kept my order on this entry POI. However, session closed right here. I sent an update with this possible entry opportunity right here, where I said to count your own criteria and decide for your own self. And also said that on GU, the 15-minute demand has broken, and everything below that 15-minute demand was liquidity. So we had a chance, if EU correlates with GU perfectly, then we had a chance to break below this 15-minute demand. So that was the reason I decided to use a reduced risk on this entry POI. So I used reduced risk in this case. And yeah, technically that's all. That's all on EU. I really hope it was a clear explanation, but let's take a look on GU, because there was a discussion about a possible entry opportunity after the 15-minute demand mitigation. However, this wasn't that reaction after a deeper mitigation on the 15-minute demand that I'm looking for. So here we are on 15-minute time frame on GU. But first, let's take a look on the 4-hour time frame, because GU 4-hour time frame didn't really make any pullback yesterday. So this is our yesterday's movement right here. Price didn't really make any pullback to the downside as you did, but let's take a look on the 15-minute time frame. On the 15-minute time frame, we had several zones that we could use for possible entry opportunities. So there was the last recent breakout structure. After that, price has made really small pullbacks, but after that, a new breakout structure came into the market. After this breakout structure right here, price action has really slowed down. So this is a really slow price action. Here is Asia session right here. Perfect. And we had 2 possible entry zones. This was the first one that has caused a small breakout structure here, but printed really nice volume candle where I was waiting for confirmation entry. Or this was the second one, which has caused the breakout structure here, but this has printed really nice volume candle too, and everything below the zone was liquidity technically. And yeah, after the flip of this zone, I was expecting sells down to this 15-minute demand that has printed even better, even greater inefficiency, even greater volume candles. So yeah, so the plans once again was the wait for confirmation entry here or on the lower demand, or after the flip of this supply, wait for shorts that targeting this liquidity right here, targeting this 15-minute demand. So these were my plans for this session, and technically I believe after the deeper mitigation on this 15-minute demand, there was a discussion in GU about a possible entry opportunity. However, I do not really liked that reaction. As you can see, session started here. This is the first candle of the session. On the 15-minute time frame, price has broken below this zone, so I was really expecting the mitigation of the lower demand, but first, right here, price reacted on a 5-minute demand that has printed really nice volume candle, but I was focusing on the 15-minute time frame more, and I stick to this 15-minute zone. So I was expecting a mitigation on this 15-minute demand, which has actually happened. And after the first mitigation on this 15-minute demand area, right here, price built up liquidity for a deeper mitigation. This deeper mitigation happened with this movement right here, but this reaction is not that reaction that I'm looking for in order to enter in a long position. So we barely could find any inefficiency right here. There was the only one where price actually reacted, as you can see. However, for me, the inefficiency criteria was really debatable in this case, and this wasn't that reaction that I'm looking for. It wasn't a really V-shaped recovery. So yeah, it's simple. It's not the reaction that I'm looking for that happened on EU. On EU, price printed volume candles. There wasn't volume candles. So yeah, and technically this was just liquidity creation too as well. The same as happened on EU. So technically the whole movement on GU on the upside was liquidity creation for future movements. Actually, it has been built up for CPI. So after this reaction right here, I sent an update where I wanted to see the failure of this 5-minute supply that has caused the breakout structure here to the downside. So I wanted to see the failure of the zone in order to look for longs, because I didn't like that reaction. I don't want to see that reaction right here. Or after the flip of this 15-minute demand, I would look for sells to the downside and targeting this liquidity right here. So yeah, these were my plans. Actually, the flip happened, but there wasn't really nice entry opportunity. So yeah, technically that's all. And after the flip of this demand, we had the entry opportunity on EU, and yeah, that's why I sent an update about into the London updates channel, where I said that we had a chance to see the failure of the EU setup right here, because the GU has broken below this demand, and if GU and EU correlates perfectly, then we had a chance to see the failure of the EU setup. So yeah, technically that's all, guys. I really hope you will like this recap. You find helpful this recap. So yeah, that's all. Take care. Have a nice rest of the day, and see you guys tomorrow.